everybody, Scout Crafter here again. It's a Wednesday. Wednesday. You know, Wednesday is one of those words that for people that are learning the English language, if you read it, it's Wednesday. You could always tell somebody that English is their second language when they try and pronounce Wednesday. It is a strange word, isn't it? Anyway, we have a fun episode today. A couple things to talk about. Let's get right into it. Okay, I'm in a pretty good mood today because, first of all, last night I figured out what I want to do for my Tote challenge, which is kind of late in the game to just figure it out. But I've been drawing up plans. I got what I want to do mentally, and that's the biggest part. The hardest part is figuring out how you want to do it. So I'm glad about that. I'll be starting that. Also, last week's video on the scissors, a couple people were asking me, they're saying, you know, when you're talking about expensive scissors, what was I talking about? I got this a while ago from eBay, but you know what's nice? When you get something from eBay and they send it in a really, they, you know, go out of their way to do a nice job in packing. And look at this guy. First of all, he sent it in a scope box, which scope boxes are always, you know, high quality, nice. And he had all kinds of packing wrapped and everything. So really appreciate, that was Gary from West Virginia, whoever he is, he did a nice job. But this is the kind of scissors that we're talking about doing, and I'll tell you why, because I was born with big mitts, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, my hands are bigger than most, and my father, God, my father had the biggest hands I've ever seen in my life. And everybody that shook his hands, his hands were like, not only were they big, but his ring, forget it, it was a monster when he shook his hand. So, my problem with these mitts is getting a scissor that I could fit my, you know, hand into and be comfortable. And I'll go all into that when we do scissors. But this is the type that I'm talking about, that we're going to be tackling, scissors like these. These are Taylor shears or whatever, but it's very interesting, and there's a lot of good history with these. So we're going to be doing that very shortly. But let's talk about what we're going to do for today. Today is Triple Treat Wednesday, and because I was upstairs looking around, and have a couple of I don't know what the name on, if there is a name on here, I can't see it right now, but we have this one real quick. We have these really nice, again, I can't read the name real quick. We'll do it after the post-wire brush. Really nice. I mean, these are just beautiful. They feel so nice in the hand. And then lastly, we have these, and these are Plum, and Plum has a big history. A lot of you guys know about Plum, and you don't usually see these around, these Plum, and we'll take a look at these when we do look at the, you know, the rust that we have, a typical rust, you know, and but the jaws, you know, that I see a little space in there, but it's still, you know, when you get a rare piece of pliers like this, you're not going to pass them by, because unless they're really damaged, you know. But we'll see what we can do about fixing these up. They got nice handle embellishments. Let's do the wire brush and see what these look like after the wire brush. Okay, here we are for a post-wire brush evaluation. No real surprises here. However, beautiful knurling, no dents or anything. You know, that's real nice. The jaws are good on this one. You know, the grind it's a little weird, but that's probably from the factory, you know, but it cuts good, it works good. Looking at the name here, could you see here, these are Utica. Utica made some fantastic, they're 60-6, Utica, New York, USA. Can you see that? A little difficult to see in the lighting there, but really nice pair. These are keepers for sure. Next up, we have these, this small pair, nothing on the handles, but they're a cute size, isn't it? It's a nice little, it's almost like a shrunken down, all the proportions are the same for a normal size, but this is just a little guy, and it's just really nice. And the jaws are really good. Now that brings us to the Plum. Again, beautiful handle embellishments on these old Plums, you know, and you know, again, we have some scaling and things like that. You see here, see that scaling here and up here, and otherwise, you know, over here, it's in decent shape, but you know, we got to deal with address the jaws. Now, a couple people have been asking me about that too, and there's really not much you can do with jaws on the pliers here, because of it's just the way they were made. They were made that when you wore out the jaws, you turned them in and got a new pair. However, we could do something to help them out a little bit. You see over here, if you look closely, you can see the metal. There you go. It's kind of turned over from, you know, they were cutting hard things here. So the first thing you want to do is we want to take the stone with the Dremel, and we did go through this with the wire brush with the Dremel with all three of these to the areas you can't get with the regular wire brush. We're going to try and get rid of some of this metal here, and then we're going to try and level this jaw out again on both sides, following the same exact bevel that came from the factory. And if you see here, you know, one side is always sharper than the other, you know, as far as cut goes. But we'll see what we can do and get these. And again, there's a gap when you close. You see that gap? We can't get rid of a gap, you know, but we can hopefully. Okay, for the first part here, what we're going to do is we're using this stone. See the shape of this stone here in the Dremel? And again, we're going to touch it here just like this, and we're just going to get rid of all the metal that's folded back this way. We're just going to, you know, create that, sharpen that edge up, and that's what we're going to do with this Dremel. Let's do that now. Okay, you can see the shiny part there where we just got rid of that little edge, that bird edge that was sticking up over there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try and I'm going to use the drum sanding attachment, which looks, you know, looks like this here, a little drum sanding attachment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here like this and try and, you know, just make this edge exactly like it was from the factory, get rid of all that waviness. Let's do that. Now, there's two important things when you're trying to do this edge over here. First of all, when you're doing this, we'll finish up with a light file where you can get, you know, really into the close areas. But we're just taking off some of the major stuff here. And now, what's important is the variable speed Dremel. You never want to buy a Dremel unless it's variable speed. It's very important. And the reason is because if you notice, first of all, I'm using a worn drum, so we're not taking off a lot. And I'm going with a very low speed. You hear that? Very low speed. And I'm adjusting the pliers just so you see the light right there. You see the light is right on that edge. That's what you want. You want to be able to see the light on that edge and then follow it back and forth little by little. See how slow it's going? And you're not taking off too much metal. You just, and if you see you're a little one way or the other, you just adjust. But always use the light to your advantage. You want that. You want to see it just like that. You see that? You don't want to be doing it like this. You can't see. This way, every time you move a little bit one way or the other, you'll be able to notice it. So, okay, works. Here we are. What we did was we just cleaned up that button. You see how that's nice and shiny there? Those jaws, and they're straight all the way up and down. Now, we couldn't, you can't put metal where there was metal missing, so we're still going to have a slight gap, but now it's to the point we took away all that folded metal on the edge. So let me show you now. Now, if you have, this is wire hanger, as you know, and you could see it cuts all the way up and down the jaw, okay? And then here we have stranded copper. This is always tough to cut, and you can see here, we, all the way up the jaw, it's cutting. Again, it's not the sharpest cut that you'll get because the jaws were damaged, but it's a usable pair. So that's what you have to do. You know, you won't be able to take, you won't be taking too much off. You'll know when to stop. You just want to clean it up and make sure that you follow the bevels that were there originally. And you can see that's what it looks like. And now you could start doing the cleanup. Now you know my favorite part. Remember what these three pliers look like before we started. And we're calling this project done. You know, a little ambitious taking on 3 here in this kind of a 1 day and a half build. Let's take a look at what we did one at a time with each one of these. And we'll start off with this one. Okay, first off, we have the Utica 60-6. Let me get the light right so you can see it here. Did a nice job in being able to keep all the lettering on here, especially since a lot of this had to be taken down. And look how pretty these are, huh? These are just a beautiful pair all the way around. And again, with the knurling on the handles, and I did the insides here, the insides of the handle. It's just, isn't that pretty? And it's a like I said, this is a nice size. It cuts well. We have our copper wire here to test. It does cut. And it's, again, it's a nice vintage pair just to hold off on. Next up, we have this smaller pair, no name brand, and this one here is very nice. Let's look what we did with the finish here. We did it in a, again, you know, a pretty close to a mirror finish on here. We did a nice job on here because, again, it's no name. You have to worry about keeping any lettering. Took all the pitting out. Kept all the facets looking nice. You know, it's a nice pair, right? Now with the handles, this was originally cold blued, because you can always tell a cold blue because there's always rust underneath, you know, and it's not a true bluing. It's more of a black. And so I took all that off the handles and did the inside in with a Scout Crafter red. Something a little bit different just to see. And as far as cutting goes, actually I didn't try them yet, but they looked really sharp from, you know, the jaws were pristine, so I didn't think they'd have any problem cutting. Beautiful little pair, aren't they? That's a nice one here. And last up, we did these beautiful plum. You can see here, plum, and these are model 268. Okay, and like I said, you don't see these too often, you know, the plum. And these had, it's kind of a longer face here. It's just a different, the facets a little bit different, but kept them all original. You know, again, not totally mirror, but a nice shine on here. Redid all this because it had kind of a weird casting look on there. And look at the beautiful embellishments on the handle. You know, it's like an Art Deco type. And, you know, this is just, that's lovely, you know. And just let me mention one thing about the pliers. You know, you saw when I was talking about doing the jaws over, and these did come out very nice because they do cut, like, you know, very well. But pliers, anything with a cutting jaw like this, is meant to be kind of consumable. They're meant to be used for so many years, and if you take care of them, you get more usage. But eventually, the jaws will wear out. You can only sharpen them a couple times before it gets to the point where they won't touch anymore, and then you're supposed to get another pair, and that's part of being, you know, the whole consumable part of a tool. So, but what we like to do here is take tools that would kind of pass their life and give them a second life like this and bring them back. And that's the whole fun of this hobby. So in closing there, we have 3 pliers that you usually don't see every day. They're kind of rare in the fact that even though they weren't rare when they were produced, there's not many of them around. So it's always nice to see them around and put them back into service. Last up, I just wanted to say about the Tool Tote Challenge, which is you have less than 20 days to complete it, which is still plenty of time. But what we tend to do whenever we have these challenges, especially if it's a month away, we tend to, you know, put it off until you get to that last weekend, and then you try and knock one together, and then you're not happy because you didn't put as much time into it as you wanted to. So you have 20 days. It's the 15th of February it's due, and I will talk more about it before then and give you all the places you could send the photos to and whatnot. Try and hold off sending them before, you know, the week before, because otherwise, you know, they can always get lost somehow. So anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Take care now. Bye-bye.